Addressing the any statistical noise or inconsistencies within the data, I don't think that there really is any. After each chart in the Massachusetts article, it goes in and explains what the data is actually saying, what it actually means, and where it comes from, and going into the labels and expressing again where they come from and how to actually read it, and so you can know that the data is fair and it's consistent. So on my end, I don't see any inconsistencies with the data in any of the charts. Now for disparity ratios, in Massachusetts, I found that um, people of color are incarcerated at a rate of 11.77%, while white people are incarcerated at a 10.86% rate. And Hispanics are 11.47%, while whites again are 10.86%. And now you see the difference there in people of color and Hispanics are incarcerated at a higher rate than whites are. But it's interesting to see that there are many, there's a significant higher number of cases for whites than there are people of color and there are for Hispanics. So in Massachusetts, there's this research shows that there was 93,000 overall cases for people of color being incarcerated at 11.77% rate. In the total number of cases for white people was 323,000 total number of cases, and compared to the Hispanics, 100,000 total amount of cases being incarcerated at 11.47% rate. So in a way, both kind of cancel out, with whites having a significantly higher number of cases and people of color and Hispanics having over or more than half less, if that makes sense, than whites total cases. But when you go to a neighboring state like New Hampshire, I wonder what the total number of cases or the total population that they have there, because the incarceration rate in New Hampshire for people of color is 13%, while whites it's 73%, and with Hispanics it's even lower than people of colors. It's 12%, uh, compared to whites again, 73%. That might have to do with the population of whites to blacks or whites to Hispanics and others. There might be a significantly higher amount of white people there, so they might be incarcerated more and doing more of the crime. But another nearby state, New York, their people of color are incarcerated at a 46% rate, while white people are at a 35% rate, and again Hispanics are 18%, while whites are still again 35. Now comparing Massachusetts to New York, I think that whites are at a lower. I think that are at a they exhibit lower disparity rates than New York, because there's just way less people than there is in, compared from Massachusetts to New York. Probably New York City has more people than Massachusetts does as a whole alone. So I think those numbers can kind of, they there's a different way to look at them, and there's a different way to kind of calculate those numbers, just because the population size isn't as similar. It's very drastic compared to which state you go and which state you look at. Um, with New Hampshire though, that one might be because of that one just might be because of maybe they have more of a population as well. The white incarceration rate in New Hampshire is so much higher than it is in Massachusetts. Maybe that has to do with Massachusetts possibly being a somewhat, uh, I don't know, a safer state. I'm not too sure about the crime rate in either state, but that would probably be my answer as to why the numbers are so drastic and why they're so much lower than they are with whites and compared to New Hampshire and Massachusetts. So here's my mind map of that tracks a defendant from initial police contact through post release supervision. I don't know how easy it is to read. I can just submit a picture of it, but we're starting from out of system, and this rest of the thing is uh, gonna circle back. So it goes from out of system to the initial police contact, like like the post says. So it goes from out of, so how we got out of the system, and then circling back around to the first step, which I have is as arrest, and then after that there's charges filed, which I put is a bias, which I put is could be a bias moment. There's so many other things that go into how someone gets charged with something, whether they take the blame for someone, whether they've been profiled wrong, whether they've been racially profiled just in general. So I put that as a bias moment, and then there's bail here after the files being charged, as a decision point, regarding whether they are allowed bail at the time by the judge, or if the family has enough money to pay for it. And then after, I also have awaiting trial, and then after awaiting trial, we have the trial, and then I split off into two parts of being guilty or not guilty, which in those two instances are another bias just based off the jury and what the jury thinks. As much as they try to remove bias as possible, there's still a bias in the jury and what they think is right and wrong. And so if you're guilty, I put you have sentencing, which is a decision point, because based off of power and all about what the judge thinks and what the judge wants and what the judge thinks is just for that person. And then they serve their time in jail, and then after they serve in time in jail, it circles back to being out of the system. And not guilty here, I have above it that you're home with just minimal consequences, whether that means just house arrest for a certain amount of time. And so basically then that goes and circles back to being out of the system. Now regarding figure 27, and does the data suggest that legislative reforms have successfully bent the curve of racial disparity? I would say no, because the article states off of that figure 27 that black people are charged with 6% more 6%, they're charged with murder 6% more than whites actually are. And for the second part of figure 27, I think what this suggests about institutional memory is that it could suggest that despite current charges, there is no lingering punishment and vice versa. If based upon the institutional memory, is someone getting a longer sentence because of what they've done before, or because of what they've done before they aren't getting what they necessarily deserve because they've already served time for other things. And to conclude, I think that bias was removed as much as possible. In all the research in the article, they looked at many variables. They were given so much information and data to go through and look through and sort through and make charts, and they had supplied a lot of it with what they were given. So, to conclude, I think that the article about Massachusetts had as much bias removed as possible, and they did the best they could with what they had.